Okay. Okay. You should be able to hear me. Um, can someone just type something in the chat if you can hear me all right? And I will turn on my camera. Okay. I had some problems with my camera as always, but we are online here. Let me move it. Okay. And we should be you should be able to see me and you should be able to hear me. Yay! Welcome to the October Q&A session for Patreon, and I'm your host Mateusz Urbanov, GA. Welcome to the next video. And first I would like to share with you some details about what is happening to me lately, and some news that is still kind of unofficial because I haven't spoke to anyone about this even on YouTube or anywhere. And okay, so this is a new thing. This is a book, but it's still blank. And it's blank because this is a dummy book. So this is a book that I will be making from now, and I will be making it until probably kind of middle of next year. And this is a dummy I got from my publisher, so I can get to see the size of the book, how it will look like in the finished kind of shape. So it has pages and it has the cover and it has some special features. But first I have to draw everything that will be in this book, and this book will be actually the Tokyo at Night series made into a book. So this will be the series of illustrations Tokyo at Night made into a book, but I will not be making this book with the illustrations that you already seen on my website and on YouTube and on Patreon also. This will be made completely from scratch. So differently from the Tokyo Storefront series, this will be made from illustrations especially for this book. Hi, hello everyone. So yes, and I actually already started working on this. We went for the first location hunting with Kana and with people from actually the Japanese national television from NHK, and we were walking around Tokyo at night and gathering materials for the first chapter of the book, and I already started painting the illustrations. If you were looking at my Instagram, you probably seen some illustrations. I would like to do stuff like Yokohama, but for now I'm kind of focusing on Tokyo. I don't know how much longer I'll be living here near Tokyo, so I want to kind of uh, do a good use of my time, and probably Yokohama is such a nice place that probably I will do a different thing about Yokohama. I already did one series of illustrations about Yokohama, and probably I'll do more because this is a really nice place that I would like to explore more. But yeah, this time I'm focusing on Tokyo. I have your chat here, by the way, so I see what you are saying. Kaneki Shiba, thank you for your question. And yeah, so this time we are planning only Tokyo, and we are planning to make it like thematic. So the chapters will be divided into themes, and each chapter will be kind of thematic. And we will be featuring like text in this book. It will be also English and Japanese, and probably there will be things like a small comic in the book, and some bonus features like maps and like exploring about us exploring Tokyo at night. And there will be also a short feature in a television program in next month, made by NHK, so also about the book and about our like location hunting and stuff. And especially for you here, I have some things that I can show you. This is the first illustration that I did as a test for the book. This I don't think will actually make into the book, but this is like a test illustration that I did. I want to make this book in kind of style that's similar to Japanese woodblock prints, so Japanese hanga prints. That's why I'm kind of making the flat shadows and those kind of style of illustrations. But this illustration will not be in the book. Yes, I thank you, Inishi. Yes, I want to do a next comic, but probably I'll be writing a story for the next comic while I'm making this this book. Okay, so the next picture is this one, and this is actually first picture based on the location hunting that we did in Tokyo with the NHK guys, and we were being followed whole day by the camera crew, and we went around Tokyo Station, Ginza, Shinbashi, and all kinds of those places with huge buildings. And I did this first picture based on the photos I took. And this is the second picture that I'm already doing for the book, and it's almost done. I just have to add some things here that will be bonus. Valentin asks, why not include the 10 first pictures? Because I did not do the 10 first pictures as materials for the book. I did it like a illustration series, and there are some problems with the illustrations, because the book, as you can see, is this size, and the illustrations I did in the previous series are A4 vertical, so it would be kind of hard to put them into this book. They would have to be either cut or like leave a wide margin on both sides of the illustration, so it's not really good. And I want to do illustrations that are either on one side or like 3/4 or the whole kind of panoramic view of the book. That's why we chose like a more square size for the book. So, and I also want to change the style a little bit to make it more interesting. These illustrations will have videos. I don't know if I'll make all of them, because there will be a lot of illustrations to make, like 50-60 illustrations probably, so I would just swamp my YouTube with all the stuff. Maybe I'll do some of the illustrations on YouTube and some on Patreon only, like without editing, just like put the video on Patreon if you want to see it. But yeah, this is one of the things I'll be working on for the next couple of months probably, and I'll be announcing the book while when my publisher says like, okay, you can announce the book on YouTube or whatever. So yeah. And we also, while I was painting one of the paintings I showed you, the NHK crew was here in our house just filming me all day, using big cameras and GoPros and all kinds of stuff. So this will be also in the television program that's called Ban Ban Japan. Never mind the name. I hope that it will be interesting because they took a lot of footage. So I'm kind of eager to see what program will this become. Yeah, the problem with unedited video is that it's huge. I only have recorded 2 processes from the painting processes from the illustrations, and it's already like 200 gigabytes of data, and it's not even 4K. So I will be trying to upload as much as I can, but I also have to work on the illustrations and the stuff. But yeah, I will try to upload as much as I can from the process. Okay, next point is here. If you were wondering what I do with the support I get from you, this is one of the things that we bought from Patreon support. So thank you. And this is a printer. This is the Canon 10S Pro printer, which is a lot better than the Epson I was using so far. I wanted to do some prints from the Tokyo at Night series, so I would be able to sell them on Tigtail, and also just have them if I need to print something like night scenes for my portfolio or just for the book and for tests and other stuff. But the Epson printer was completely not able to print any blacks enough on matte paper that would be good for this. So we replaced the printer with the Canon 10S Pro, and it works really better than the Epson that we had, and we had a lot of problems with the Epson, and so far the Canon is really better. So thank you. And the Tokyo at Night series, the first 10 illustrations are already on Tigtail, and I think I'll do a Patreon, like a giveaway also for those illustrations, but I still have to get everything ready. And also about some of my upcoming videos, I got this set of these sets of watercolors from a nice company in Italy called Nila Colori, and these are handmade watercolors. They sent to me so I can test them and use them in some of my videos if I want. So for now I have like this small set of 6 colors and this bit bigger set of I think 12 colors. So I'll probably do a video about, not about these paints because I don't do like reviews and stuff, but I'll probably paint something using those 2 sets to check them out and make it into a video. So I hope you like it. I'll do like a swatches and stuff, but mostly I'll just paint with this. So it's more like a painting video, my usual painting video, than a review. But I'm kind of excited about trying them out and seeing how they look on paper. I already did some swatches and they look kind of interesting, but yeah, I have to do more testing. Okay, so that's about my update, I think. Yeah, I started new series of illustrations about the Arakawa line of trains, but you already seen that on YouTube, so probably I'll continue this also while I'm doing the book stuff, to just kind of have something else to do also, just not only night pictures that can be a little bit boring, probably just doing dark pictures all the time. So yes, okay, so I'll just go to your questions. And I have a lot of questions from you actually, because we were doing the kind of art review kind of thing last month. So I have some questions from you. But if you have anything to ask me and anything you have on your mind, just type in the chat and I'll answer immediately. Well, probably with like 10 seconds lag, but okay. So first question I want to answer is from Eric Górnicki or Gornicki Vargas. And it's about, I'll copy it to the chat. About like painting with watercolors, because when I do shadows, sometimes the shadows have edge that is different color. So if the shadow is blue, I will sometimes do the edge or like red or orange color. And he says about Photoshop, because I was doing it in Photoshop in the last Q&A, the March Q&A, and this is a thing that I have from painting watercolors in painting animation backgrounds in the animation studio when I was working on movies by Makoto Shinkai, because this is a part of his style. He did a lot of backgrounds where the shadow had like pink or orange edges, and I don't know where this came from. It's not anything that you can not naturally see in like just nature doing photos or something. I think this is probably just an effect that is supposed to make the shadow less hard. So make the shadow less hard, so it's more blended with the background and looks just more natural, I think, more interesting. And I think that is also possible to recreate it with watercolors, though it's a little bit difficult because you have to be really fast about it. There are two approaches. One, you can paint at the edge of the shadow with red or pink or orange, and then add the blue, so the shadow continues in blue. Or first paint the blue part, and before it dries out, just go around the edge with a brush. I will try to show it on some video or something, but this is kind of difficult, and I will have to try a few times to get it right. Probably it's harder to do with watercolors than in Photoshop, where you can just put the shadow on a different layer and paint around the edges with a not so hard brush. Okay, so the second part of the question that he did was about an article that I linked in the Q&A notes. I don't know if you have seen it, and it's about Japanese culture and politics, and he asks what do I and Kana think about it. And so I'll just put it here. Okay, and this is an article in Japan Times, which actually was linked and talked about in Japan here also. So I actually saw this article before he sent it to me, and I'm actually really we spoke with Kana about the themes that this article kind of picks up a lot lately, because we can see with Kana that the kind of atmosphere in Japan is really stagnant. There is not a lot going on, and if something new is happening, it's not anything that we were kind of counting on. There's not so much innovation, and there's not so much kind of useful innovation that just comes, and it's there so you can use it, and stuff like Uber, for example, which is really popular in like America or US and Europe and all the places. It's really not really usable now in Japan because of the taxi industry being against it, and this also happens with a lot of different things. So even if new technologies like, for example, I don't know, cryptocurrency or Uber-like things, or sharing apartments using an app so you can just lend a room in your apartment or whatever, which is really like Airbnb, I think it's called, which is really something normal around the world. It's really hard to do in Japan because of all kinds of regulations. But not only because of regulations, but also because of this kind of inertia that's here. And it's like any change is really feared, and doing anything that's a little bit even rebellious against the state that's now is kind of treated like you're crazy. So there is a lot of pressure about keeping things as they are right now, so there's not so much change. And it's not only in like the standard industries, like I don't know, taxi industries, like here in the article, but also in all kinds of aspects of life in Japan. So in the education sector, and in like big companies and smaller companies, there are some new places that kind of see the examples of foreign countries and kind of try to stay on touch, so stay updated. But there's a lot of just old way thinking. So for example, there after the tsunami that was in Japan, there was a lot of kind of backlash from the public about using the radioactive fuels to make electricity. So they started, everyone in Japan started doing like electric power from solar panels and wind energy, wind turbines, and yeah, we are going to do this. And after a few years, they actually built a lot of solar panels, but at the same time, the government continued the same at the same pace as always. So they actually turned on all the nuclear reactors that were turned off after the tsunami. So now they are telling people to turn off their solar panels and wind turbines because the grid has enough electricity already. So you're just causing problems by doing the ecological stuff. So people are kind of mad about this, but most of the power in the country still lies in the kind of power wielding bureaucrats and huge companies and like government that is moving really slowly about anything. So even things like the Olympic that is that was supposed to bring a little bit of vigor, a little bit of kind of life to the country and give it a push to do all kinds of interesting things, is just being met from the public with kind of and apathy and being like so I don't think that approach about anything right now in Japan is good. The only thing they're doing is like, oh, we need more foreigners, more tourists for bigger amounts of money every year. But the promotion that they do for touristic reasons is also kind of weird, because they are building huge buildings, huge shopping centers and malls, and not promoting the real Japan that foreigners want to see actually. So this kind of governance by like 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds power wielding rich people is really kind of stifling everything else here. And even in countries like China, for example, the innovation is probably a lot fast and a lot more supported in some places, of course. I have seen the documentary about the Chinese, like Silicon Valley kind of place. That was really crazy. They had a lot of interesting technologies being used like every day, and in Japan you would think that you would have a lot of, I don't know, robots and like driving cars and electronic money everywhere and those kind of things, but there's nothing. It's even kind of forbidden to use electric scooters because it's dangerous. You cannot use an electric scooter that you can drive without pedaling because it's dangerous. You cannot use electric self-driving cars. You cannot test them anything. So you cannot do like solar panels because no one will buy your energy. So it's kind of lobbying and pushing down on anything that is kind of trying to do something interesting. So yeah. And it's the same with anything else actually that is trying to do any bigger change. So I'm kind of, I don't agree with everything that's written in this article, but I think that is kind of on point, and we feel this kind of apathy lately in Japan with Kana a lot. And especially compared with the kind of 80s and 70s that Kana's parents know about. So we talked about those times with them, and of course there was this economic boom, but also there was this kind of feeling of progress and feeling of doing something. But now it's just trying to stay alive and trying to keep like the level that you are used to. So yeah. Didi asks, have you considered doing some short tutorials focused on specific things like painting trees and clouds and windows? I don't know why windows, but yes, I actually have considered it. I will probably do something like that, either as Patreon only videos if we go over the $1,000 thing, which we are really close to doing, or as like Gumroad things that you will be able to download for free if you are Patreon supporters, but for everyone else it will be like $1 or something. But first I think I would like to finish the series of videos that I started to do about watercolors, but yeah, I still have to do it. I'm sorry. And the second question, what tools do you prefer for your line work? Isograph pens, fountain pens, felt tip pens? I have the tools listed on my website, so you can read the list there, and actually I will link it. And actually I updated this list really frequently, so I have it updated to the latest tools that I use right now. And now my 3 favorite tools are the Faber-Castell Eco Pigment pens, which are really great felt tip pens, but black, but really nice. The Rotring Isographs 0.4 or 0.5, which are really great. Sorry, it's already getting cold in Japan, so I have my heater on. And also I have been using a lot, and I will probably use for the whole book, the Lamy fountain pen, which I have in the EF, and this is M width, which I use for all my paintings lately. And it has blue ink in it, which is this Sailor blue black ink, which is waterproof actually, so I can use it with watercolors. Okay, So next question from the ones I got before the show. Evening Wang asks, "Hi Matt, may I ask you how you managed to manipulate watercolor that well and how you made the decision and giving up engineering and become an artist?" And okay, so the first part of the question is, how do you manage to manipulate watercolor so well? Just practice. Of course, the things that you use, so the brushes and the paper, make a lot of difference. And if you use paper that's not suited for what you want to do, you can face a lot of, not problems, but you can get kind of discouraged because the watercolor does not do what you want it to do. So good watercolor and good brushes and good paper helps, but a part of that is just practice. So trying to do the things that you want to do and failing a lot and then actually getting it right. I did not have anyone to tell me what to do with the watercolors, so most of the things that I learned is just from practice and just trial and error. And I don't know if it's the best way to learn, but there are some things that you can learn from watching the videos I make and other people make, and some tutorials that I make and other people make. And this helps a lot probably now, but when I started I didn't have YouTube to learn about how to paint. So yeah, this is one thing, just practice. And the second part is probably more easy for me to answer. How you made up the decision of giving up engineering? For me, the computer part of my brain and the kind of creative paint part of my brain were always there, like side by side and doing stuff. But at some point when I was able to work using my art things, I was so into it that I didn't even think that, oh, maybe I should still be a programmer or something like that. Computers kind of fascinate me, and I like robotics and I like programming, and I was doing engineering in my high school and I was doing some engineering things in my university. But at some point when I was able to work using my art side of my brain, I really wanted to go there, because the thing that I wanted to do the most was doing kind of stories and art, and the things that moved me most were stories and art. Maybe someone that wants to become a programmer, when he sees a great piece of code or a great piece of software or something, like an idea that for a great application, he goes like, oh god, I just have to go and write this. But for me, it was movies and comics and stuff like that that made me the most kind of moved. I felt most kind of moved by things like this. So this is what I wanted to do. But because there was no way to do this in Poland, I was learning how to program and do stuff. So when I had a chance, I just went for it. I still did not quit doing the things that I learned while I was doing computers, because I program my own website, I manage it, I sometimes wrote some software just for fun and for profit also to do things. But yeah, and I know a little bit about computers, about networks. So when I want to set up a server in my house, I just buy a server and set up it and set up the backup and everything by myself. So it comes in handy, and I can use any software mostly if I can just use Google to help me. So this also helps. I can do scripts in After Effects, which is probably a great help for me, but not many people that I know can do it. So I try to kind of incorporate my knowledge of computers to my art also. like I do 3D and all kinds of weird stuff, but it was not really a question for me. If I had a chance, would I go? Yes, and that was it. But probably one of the deciding factors also was if there is a problem in a electronic thing that I'm creating, and I feel like there is a need for me to go back and learn a lot to be able to solve this problem, I don't feel excited and encouraged about this. So I'm not like, oh yes, this is a opportunity to learn how to write, I don't know, COBOL or whatever. And this was probably the factor that made me quit engineering as a whole-time job, because I did not feel excited to be able to learn more. But give me a new like pencil or a new pen or whatever that I don't know how to use, and tell me, okay, you have time to learn how to use it, just do and try new stuff. I'm like, yes. So this is probably why I chose this way rather than programming. Could you make a tutorial about caring about watercolor brushes? I don't really care well about my watercolor brushes. I just use them so I don't damage them so much. I don't wash them using special liquids or do anything actually with them. I should probably, but I don't. So yes, most of the natural hair brushes that I used end up being a mess after about a few months. So I'm not really good at my brush care. But yeah, I'll have to research this. This is one of the things that I was thinking about researching more thoroughly for my own purpose also. So if I know something about that, I will do a video about this. Do you clean your brush each time after using a new color? Yes. If I want to switch the color, I clean the brush mostly. If the new color is a mix of the color I already have on the brush, then I don't do it. I see some people dipping into their pan with the old color still on the brush. Yes, I do this a lot, all the time. And this is, I showed this in the video about using the basic of using watercolors. I think it's the first video in the tutorials. So I first put the brush in the pan, I mix it, I take some of the color, I put it on the palette, and then I take the brush without cleaning and put the secondary color and mix it on the palette, and take some of the color and mix it on the palette. Sometimes when I don't want to spoil the color in the pan, for example, I took really dark blue color and I was going to put it in yellows, that would make it a mess. I clean the brush, but most of the times I don't. Okay. Okay, so next of the questions that you asked in the comments before, from Dominique Paulin, I think it's spelled like this, I'm sorry. Since you like Miyazaki a lot, I got 2 questions for you. It's a bit silly, but I'm curious nonetheless. Do you know which pencils and colors Miyazaki uses to put shadows in his storyboard? Which is the first question. And I actually know the answer. You came to the right place, probably. So, she is talking about storyboards like this. And storyboards have older storyboards, because on newer storyboards he uses watercolors, but in older ones, I don't know if you can see it properly. To mark shadows and from where the light comes, he uses just one color to mark the shadow places, and it looks more or less like this. They use different pencils in different storyboards, but mostly he uses this kind of strange orangish color. And from what I think, these are the really cheap Mitsubishi color pencils that are really popular in Japan. I actually bought this box on the flea market for 20 yen, so about 20 cents. And I think this is the pencil that was used for this. This is the one of the set, and it's called Mitsubishi 88019, and the name of the color is Odoiro, which is this kind of strange yellowish color. I'll try it here. This kind of yellowish color, and I think this is it. I think this is this one. Sometimes they also use the Mitsubishi art erase colors like red and blue to mark some places that require attention in the storyboard, but Miyazaki in his older storyboards used mostly this kind of Odoiro strange yellow color. Okay, so this is one question I can actually answer. And the next question is also, is the big storyboard paper he uses made custom or a commercial product? From what I know, this is made custom for him because he was complaining that the usual storyboard paper was too small and hard to see. So they made a bigger one especially for him, and I think this is just an B4 paper like this, which has the frames just bigger and printed probably on not inkjet but laser printer or copy machine, so the lines are waterproof, so he can paint over them with watercolors if he wants. And this is actually the storyboard sheet that I made based on the storyboard sheet that I saw in the museum of Studio Ghibli, that I actually measured the frames to make sure that the size is more or less the same. So if you want this, I will upload this to Patreon later if I don't forget. And if you print this on B4 paper, this is actually what I can think of the closest that he uses. And this is the scene number, the cut number, the contents of the frame. This is the about the contents of the frame, so the nayo, so the contents of the frame, so what's happening. And here's the serifu, so what is being said, so the lines that the characters say. And this is the timing and the special effects, so like noises and stuff, music. So yeah, this is really old, so it has my old logo on it, but I'll upload it so you can print it yourself using B4 paper, which is really popular in Japan actually. Not A3, not A4, B4. Okay. I'm sorry, I will probably butcher your name. Branwen Laluch, I'm sorry, asks, have you tried Nihonga techniques? And I have some brushes that are made for Nihonga, and I have some pigment based watercolors that also are kind of Nihonga style of painting, which are a little bit different than usual watercolors, but the main Nihonga paintings use just raw pigments and mix them on the spot, has to say, and it's really bothersome and really expensive also. In Japan you can get those pigments kind of easily. Most of the shops that sell art supplies have the Nihonga supplies, but all the preparation and all the things that you have to do before you can start painting is actually really bothersome. I had some friends at the animation studio that were actually studying Nihonga Japanese style painting in their school, so they told me about all this kind of crazy stuff that they have to do to just start painting, and this is really interesting for me. I would like to study some of the techniques because the pigments look really awesome. They have this kind of fine powdery texture when they are dry, and I would like to try some of those things, but I haven't tried them yet because they require a lot of things to do before you can start painting at all. Okay, so the next question I had from the comments, it's from Art Javi, I think. You read this? Do you have any art books you could recommend, and any type of book would be okay? So this is one thing I will copy here. Let me just drink a little bit of water. Okay, so on this theme I had done a YouTube video. So I had a YouTube video that's called For Inspiration on my channel, and I went over a lot of kind of art books and how I use them. So this is actually a better answer than me just answering here, but not to leave you just with go to my channel and see the video. I will link it here, by the way. So you can see it also. I have this kind of approach about using books and printed materials and stuff that I find on the internet, that I don't know if it's good or not, but I don't really buy tutorial books or books that explain you how you should do stuff. I do buy books that have things in them that I like and I would like to find in my own work also. So for example, lately what I had bought is this book, which I'm really happy about that I bought. And what is this? This is a book made by Hayao Miyazaki, you know probably. And I like this book because it's a really nice book. This is one thing, but if you look at Porco Rosso, which is in Japanese Kurenai no Buta, in the ending end titles, there are some watercolor sketches with pen and watercolor sketches that have this kind of old photos feel to them, and they are featured in the album of Porco Rosso, which is the Art of series, but they have also their own book which looks like this, and the picture quality here, even though this is printed in like 98 or something, more even or older, I think 92. This quality of this print is a lot better than the one in the Art of album, so you can almost see how it looked like when it was painted. And these pictures are really simple, but I really like the feel that they give me, and this is one of the things I would like to try to do with my art. So telling a story with just one picture and giving this kind of nostalgic feeling that you can kind of read into. So each of these illustration is like a small story by itself, and this is something that I really like about this book. You can spend a lot of time just looking at one of the picture. So this is mostly what I do when I need some inspiration and I want to learn some things. I just buy books that are made by artists that I like, not necessarily like tutorials or albums. This is an album actually that contains not only the illustration that Hayao Miyazaki did, but also like poetry and song lyrics and stuff that is also to be read. So this is a really nice book and really nice example of things that I would like to buy and keep and go back to when I kind of lack the inspiration and I would like something to inspire me to do better work, and just when I feel like looking at some nice illustrations that make me feel that the things that I do kind of matter more than just like being likes on Instagram. So okay, so the ESBN of this, I don't know if you'll be seeing. Oh, I don't know if it has ESBN. It has to have. Okay. Zoom. Enhance. So you can just screen grab it all. I bought it in the Studio Ghibli Museum, but I don't think this book is really popular because it's still the first edition, printed in '92. So I don't think a lot of people know about this book, and I was hunting for it for some time, so I was happy that I could go get it. And the name is in Japanese, so I cannot read it or I cannot write it. I will have Kana to translate it for me. ね、この本ね。Okay, next question. Daniel Dean asks about a lot of things, so I'll just go through these questions one by one. How many watercolor painting works do you do in a day on average? So this is the first one. Okay, so I'll have to take something. Okay, so if I'm doing something like this, like a sketch for an article, I can do it in an hour, more or less. If I'm doing something like this, which is more a sketch with more details of something more difficult, I can do it in like an hour and a half, 2 hours. If I'm painting something like this, if I start painting this at 11 in the morning, I can finish it about 8, 9 in the evening with a break in the middle. If I have a camera crew on my back that is kind of filming everything I do, then I'm kind of faster than usual. So this is takes me 1 day. But if there's more kind of things that I have to think about, if there's more things that I have to test, if there is a character that I have to design before doing the picture, if I'm not sure about the colors, so I have to test them in Procreate or Photoshop before I start painting actually with the watercolors, then painting a piece like this takes me 2 days about to finish. And after that I'm tired, so the next day I don't paint, I do something different, like edit a video for YouTube or do some sketches or whatever different thing that I have on mind. So that's the first part. Is there any piece that took you the longest time to create? I think that would be one of the backgrounds for the animation, the Carolina one, which was the big pan of the city. That camera goes like from the city to the coffee shop, which took me I think 3 days non-stop painting, which was a lot because there was also like a train stop that I had to paint there and all kinds of details and stuff. The more details, the more bigger the painting gets, the more time you have to kind of put into making it. So I think that was the biggest one that I did lately. I did bigger ones, I did more complicated ones, not with watercolors but with different media. When I was at the university, I spent like a week or two on one piece, but I think that was the longest one I did. Okay. In Photoshop, how do you put your brushes into organized folders? Basically, I don't. I have only few brushes that I use all the time, and these are the brushes from the set that I published recently on Gumroad, which has, I think, like 12 brushes or something like that. And these are most of the brushes I use all the time. And I have them in separate folder, and I use them all the time for most of my Photoshop painting. I only use a little bit of Kyle's watercolor brushes, except of those. But that's it, basically. I have a lot of brushes and they are in separate folders, but I almost almost don't use them for painting. Just there are like specialty brushes for like textures and stuff, but almost never I use them. So probably if you would erase all my brushes in Photoshop, I would install only the pack I uploaded to Gumroad, and I would be happy with this only. So I use just a little bit of watercolor Kyle's brushes, but apart of that, I use only my brushes that I have the really simple set, because in my style of painting, actually digitally, you don't need so much brushes. And most of the backgrounds that I did in the animation studio that I worked on, like Your Name and other animations, we used only like really simple round pastel like brushes, and most of the time some brushes for like grass and then leaves that help a little bit, but I could do without them either. Okay, thank you. I will be updating the brushes for Photoshop and Procreate, so I think that there will be some updates. But I actually painted a picture using the brushes that I uploaded. I still have to make a video out of that, but I did a picture to test them and showcase them. Where is it? Photoshop brushes test. I want to show it to you. Studies. This picture. Okay. So I did this picture with the Photoshop brushes set, and I used only the brushes that are in the set, and not even all of them, I think. So you can actually paint a lot of things with just simple little bit textured brushes in Photoshop, no problem. Of course, I'm not saying that you have to use Photoshop like I do, but I don't have the problem of managing a lot of brush presets because I don't use so much brushes. Okay, the next part of the question. Are there any tips or tricks on painting clouds digitally? Not really. I would just suggest looking at photos of clouds and trying to kind of look at them three-dimensionally, so with volume, and trying to recreate the lighting as you would look like I don't know, take a kind of squishy, little bit hard cloud in your head and try to light it from different directions and imagine that, but it's really just practice, I think. In Susume Carolina, so in the animation I did, what was the process of creating 3D watercolor backgrounds? There was a scene when she was walking down the hall before boarding the airplane, and it looked like 2.5D effect. That was actually made by a company. So the animation studio that I was working with on that project had a 3D company doing some 3D stuff for the animation, and I got from the 3D company a kind of dummy video, so I could see what it looks like. And it was only 3D, like really simple 3D tunnel, and the girl was walking there, and I was like, okay, this looks more or less okay. So they sent me like UV maps, so the walls of the tunnel flat on just a Photoshop file. So I printed this and I painted the texture with watercolors. I scanned it and put it together in Photoshop again and sent it to them, and they put it on the walls of the tunnel, and it looked awful. And so I had to tell them what to do with a lot of Photoshop magic, and they were like, oh, okay, so it has to be like this. So they fixed stuff and it looked okay. So it required a little bit of kind of sumo wrestling to get things together. So it's not a thing that I would like to repeat anytime soon, but in the end it looked kind of okay. So I think it was nice. But yeah, I got a kind of template that I followed. You could do it in After Effects with no problem at all. After Effects actually has this kind of tile effect, so if you have one tile, like a square tile that can be repeated, you can repeat it and then put it into 3D in After Effects and move it like in 3D. So it's really actually easy to do it in After Effects, like a tunnel like this. So there are probably some tutorials how to do that, but I did it in After Effects a lot of times, especially for my animation that I did still in the university. So it's actually easy to do. You can do it in Blender also, in the free software Blender. Right now I'm using for stuff like that. For stuff like this, I'm using the Apple Motion. I don't have After Effects anymore, so I'm using Apple Motion for like compositing and doing animation stuff. Okay, Didi asks, what is your favorite watercolor paper? And I'll just show you. I think this is my favorite watercolor paper. It's the Saunders Waterford White watercolor paper, which is 300 grams and cold pressed and white, and is nice mold made, acid free, and it's not so expensive actually. So this is the Japanese version, which is made by Holbein, and they just take the Saunders Waterford paper and make it in those kind of blocks. But you can buy the same paper in different countries, sold by different companies. So I think if you search for it, you'll find it. This is my favorite watercolor paper so far. I also have some other papers that I use. For example, for these new paintings, I use different kind of paper. I use the Canson Moulin de Roy, I think it's called. But yeah, the Waterford one is really nice, and you can also get it in this kind of spiral bound booklets. So it's also nice to use outside and as a sketchbook. What is a good B4 paper for creating manga, especially if you want to use G Pen? I heard a lot about people using Kent paper. This is a little bit outside of my expertise. Kana is more into doing manga and stuff with pens lately, but the one that I was using, it was just manga paper by Deleter or Deleter. I don't know how to read this. and this was the one I was using when I was in the university, and a lot of people were using this. But actually lately we have been watching with Kana a lot of documentaries about manga artists, and a lot of them use just a lot of different kinds of paper that they like. So one of the things that you can do is ask at your local art store if they have any samples that they can give you. Sometimes they have samples, and just try stuff, and always kind of put a memo, what paper is this, and just pick a nice paper for you and for this project that you're working on right now. It's what I do. I have a lot of scrap watercolor paper that I have names written on them. What paper is it? So I can always test stuff and new pens and how it behaves with different like watercolors and pens, just to test things out. I think the Kent can be good, but there are all kinds of Kents from all kinds of different companies, so I don't really know the answer for this question. Okay, my camera is dead. Wait, I'll change the battery. But I think I have answered most of your questions. Yeah, the robot is okay. The battery is on the other way around. Okay, it should be on. Okay, so for those of you who did not see this in my Instagram stories, this is the thing, which is just the start of the thing. I tried to make it as small as I could, but it's still just a thing to drive around and program with Arduino. But I have some problems with this because the Arduino Nano, which was a Chinese clone of the board, did not do well at all. Everything works on the Arduino Uno, which I had, but using the Chinese Arduino, like the clone, like all the things were not working as they should. Probably because of some voltage regulator problems. But yeah, this is just a thing that I do when my brain is like and I don't want to paint or draw anything, but I still want to do something with my hands. I just create this kind of toys with the parts I have like in my parts box. And sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, but this is also a thing that I like to do with my programming, because I can connect this kind of robot to my computer, program it so it behaves in a way that I want, and just play with it, like running around the house and doing stuff, and like making edge detection and obstacle detection and all kinds of stuff. And with this one I actually want to put a lot of sensors on it. I cannot have a camera because this is just an Arduino one, but I have a passive infrared sensor, a microphone, a speaker, 2 light detecting diodes, ultrasonic sensor, and some switches like the touch switches. So that's kind of a lot of things to run on just one little Arduino. So yeah, I think I need to think about it more. Okay, that's it. If you have any other questions, ask in the chat, and if not, I think we'll be winding this one down so it does not get too long. Okay, so these are the watercolors that I got. I did not get any money for so this is not a sponsored review. I don't do those because I got some requests for like doing sponsored reviews, but I always say no. But the person who said this from the Nira Colori company was really nice. He said just okay, you can just paint with them and say what you want on your channel, and if you want to try them, we will send them to you. And I actually said okay, so send me the 6 colors one, so I can just have a small set to try. And he sent the bigger one also, so I was really happy. Yay, watercolors, and they look really interesting. So I think this will be a nice video to kind of explore different watercolors than the ones that I usually use. Okay. My voice is going, so I think we'll be going to end this Q&A session here.
Are you okay?
Okay, thank you for coming, and thank you for listening to me rambling around about your questions. This session will be available on YouTube for you to see if you have the Patreon link. Anyway, I think we'll be doing a Q&A next month with a little bit of sketching or digital sketching. So maybe I'll do like a poll or something, so you can choose like what you want to see, like Photoshop or watercolors, so or maybe Procreate. So I'll just do something like that, and we can talk while I'm doing some sketching or something. I still have to do the Patreon t-shirts and design some t-shirts, but I was really busy with the setting up things for the book, so I think I'll be able to start thinking about something soon. So okay, thank you for joining me today. I hope you had fun, and I think I could answer some of your questions. See you in the next Q&A session if my if my thing here does work. I got some tea, so I think I'll be good. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye.